Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. My last episode was about my 10-year-long fitness journey. In this episode, I really wanted to talk about 5 mindset hacks that got me through my most recent weight loss phase. So, if you don't know, I had my second baby in July and I lost 70 pounds since then. It's been 8 months. So after I had her, I was about 198 and I'm currently sitting at like 128, 130. So about 68 to 70 pounds I lost. And I wanted to tell you 5 things that really got me through it. And I think it would help a lot of people because weight loss journeys are something that I find that people are the most impatient with. When it comes to building muscle, I feel like people understand that, it's going to take years to get to a really muscular dream physique. And even with like body recomposition, since there's no really weight loss or weight gain and you're kind of just staying at the same number and just changing your body composition, there's not so much like an itch for like a new number on the scale. But when it comes to weight loss, I've just seen across the board that is definitely the most mental game that there is, and it's also something that people are super impatient with the process. A majority of people want to see their dream body after 2 months. And although I understand, because 2 months of being on a weight loss journey is like all the sacrifices it takes, like especially if you're like really tracking your calories and your macros, you could feel like after 2 months of grinding at it, you should have lost 20 pounds. But it's really heartbreaking for people to see that they've only lost maybe like 5 to 8, These are just 5 things that I think a lot of people would benefit from hearing and asking themselves these questions and just using these 5 bullet points just so that their fitness journey isn't so mentally depriving and there's not false expectations put on the weight loss journey before you even start it. The first one is to stop focusing on the time it's going to take. And it sounds cliche to say quotes for weight loss journeys, but it's very true to say, like, even if it's going to take a year long, the year is going to pass anyways. So are you going to let the year pass just continuously being in that bubble, in that mental state of, hating your body and wanting to make a change and not doing the things in order to make the change you genuinely want? Stop focusing on the time. And if you're someone who has to make like a major change, like you're diabetic in that type of bubble or you're obese, instead of focusing on the fact that you have to lose 100 pounds, just focus on the fact that you have to make a general lifestyle change entirely. The second bullet point I have here is to allow yourself to fall off sometimes. And that's another thing I see a lot of people struggle with weight loss journeys is that, like, for example, if you have to lose 50 to 60 pounds, that's looking at like a year-long process if you're looking at losing 1 pound per week. And if that's your reality, or even if it's 30 pounds and you're going to be looking at 6 months, people think that they have to be flawless the entire year, the entire 6 months, the entire journey. And when they don't, or when they don't perform, or where they fall off, they get so disappointed in themselves and they just think they need to stop completely and give up because there's no point in continuing because you fell off. And sometimes maybe that falling off can trigger something like, oh, I've fallen off before and it didn't work last time, so it's going to happen again this time. But falling off and then completely stopping is the reason why it didn't work last time. Falling off would not deter you that much if you allowed yourself to fall off for a week, let's say, or even 2, let's say. And then just get right back into your routine, start being like hyper fixated on your nutrition again, start hitting your program, start hitting the gym again. But a conscious effort and make the decision like, hey, I know I fell off for the past week or 2, but I'm just going to start getting back into routine. That is the decision you need to make. But to completely fall off and beat yourself up about not being perfect for 2 weeks or a weekend or whatever, however much time it is, just stop focusing on that. Allow yourself to fall off. Allow yourself to still be a human during your weight loss journey, and you won't have to be so disappointed in yourself every time you don't make the best decision. It's okay. In bullet point number 3, accept that there has to be sacrifices. And something I'm seeing right now is that, or on TikTok, is that being in a calorie deficit is a type of eating disorder, or it'll develop into one, or it's a type of disordered eating. And I'm just going to have to disagree, because if we're in a place where we're struggling with obesity and we're struggling with diabetes and things, we're going to have to be in some type of deficit in order to lose weight. There's no way around it. So if there's no way around it, you can 100% be in a calorie deficit and still have a good relationship with food. You're just being more conscious about the amount of food you're consuming in order to get to your goal. And it's okay to make sacrifices when it comes to food in order to get to your goal. You know, people are sometimes trying to find a way to be able to lose the weight without having to make any sacrifices in their diet, with being able to still eat or still have their Starbucks beverage that is loaded with sugar, or still being able to have the sweet treat that is also loaded with sugar, that is going to completely take you out of a deficit if you eat it. And it's not that you can't ever eat it, and it's not that you have to go months without eating it, but we just can't consume certain things every single day. It's for health as a priority in their lives. Do not consume high processed foods, high sugar foods, high sodium foods, fried foods every day. Do they consume it sometimes? Yes, that's the thing. It's all about balance and everything in moderation. Sometimes people try to indulge and try to find a way to be able to still indulge while losing weight. It's because sometimes you're just going to have to accept that in a weight loss journey, there has to be some sacrifices. Number 4, genuinely ask yourself if it's what you want. Because a lot of people want to lose weight. A lot of people want to have their dream physique. A lot of people want to be rich. A lot of people want their dream home. But the thing that separates from people from wanting things and getting things done is the amount of work they're willing to put in. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then you have to ask yourself, then do I really want it? And this is just something that is very true when it comes to your mindset. Weight loss specifically, you really do have to ask yourself if the work that is required to put in to get to your goal weight is, if you're willing to put that much work in, if you're willing to make the sacrifices, if you're willing to not focus on the time, go to the gym when you don't want to, if you're willing to put the muffin down. You know, there's things that you have to ask yourself, like, am I willing to actually do all those things? Because I can't tell you how many clients come to me, and I'm always 100% full throttle, ready to get people to their goal. But sometimes people come to me wanting the goal, and then when it comes to, you know, going to the gym, getting those sessions in, or eating more food, for my clients who struggle with getting meals in, sometimes they don't get to it, or sometimes they fall off very quickly. And I have to ask them, I'm like, do you want to change your structure of do you want to change your split? Do you want to change the type of workouts you're doing? Do you want to do shorter duration, higher intensity? And if it just comes around to mostly like a lot of enthusiastic responses back, then sometimes I have to sit down and I'm like, well, then do you really want this? Like, do you actually want to lose the weight? Do you actually want to gain muscle? Do you actually want to have a body recomposition journey? Because if not, it's nothing wrong with accepting the fact that maybe you're just not in that point in your life where you want to make those sacrifices. It's not that you're never going to be ready, but right now, in this day, right now, do you want to put in that work? Do you want to make those sacrifices? You have to ask yourself this question before you go into a cycle of being on a weight loss journey and then getting disappointed very early in, frustrated, and giving up. And number 5, I kind of touched on this in the first bullet point, but I'm gonna circle back on this because it kind of deserves its own topic. But I think if people focus more on making lifestyle changes versus making it such a hyper fixated on a goal to get to, or the time frame to get to it, you'll be able to know that, hey, instead of being focused on the fact that I have to go to the gym for the next year, why don't I just focus on the fact that I have to go to the gym for the rest of my life? You're a human being, you need to exercise. So if you need to exercise, why are you focusing on the fact that you need to be exercising so much right now when you need to be exercising also 3 years from now, even when after you get to your goal? Because if you're on a weight loss journey, you don't want to get to your goal and then just go right back to the way you were living before you were there, because that's what got you to the point where you needed to lose weight. So instead of focusing on the fact of, okay, I just need to eat clean for 6 months and then I'll get to my goal and I'll be done. No, not really, because why do you want to go back to eating junk? Or why do you want to stop going to the gym? It should just be something that you accept, that healthier choices are something you should always be making for the rest of your life. It shouldn't be a point where it's only for right now. you focus on making lifestyle changes, it's able to carry on even past your weight loss goal, because you'll be able to then support the weight loss. You'll be able to maintain your weight loss. And those are honestly my main 5 bullet points that I see with myself even too, because even though I lost weight after, that was my second kid. In my first kid, I gained even more weight. I was, I think, 131 when I got pregnant with her, and after I had her, I was like 205. So I had to lose 80 pounds and lost about 70 the second time around. And these are things that I struggled with, and I had to remind myself too, because I remember, my first postpartum, it was the first time I ever had a baby. I didn't know how long it was supposed to take to do baby weight. I'm like, okay, so does it fall off right away? Does the lick fluids come out? Does it just, with the breastfeeding, how long is it? Still 1 pound per week if you're breastfeeding? Those were things I didn't know. And I remember I would be texting my husband like at 3 months postpartum, and I'm like, I feel like I should have lost more weight by now. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, to think that 6 weeks of that I wasn't even exercising, and I wasn't even really focusing too much on being in a deficit because I was breastfeeding. So if I want to start considering how much weight I need to be losing, if it's been 12 weeks and I subtract 6 of them, I really only had 6 weeks, and I've already am mentally telling myself I need to be losing more weight at that point. No. And even as a personal trainer and a coach, when I see my clients struggling, after the motivation fizzles out, I have to work with them to say, hey, I understand you feel like you should be way farther than you are, but we have to realize that the bigger picture isn't just dropping weight as fast as possible. The bigger picture is making lifestyle changes and making sustainable changes, so that even when we don't work together anymore, you're not going to just go back to how you were. I don't want you to lose the progress. My goal as a coach is to help my clients so that, because I know that they're not going to be my clients for the rest of their lives. I know at one point they graduate and want to just be independently because they learned from me, and they feel like they're confident enough to continue their journey without me. And my goal with my clients is to get them to a point where they don't need me, where they can go to the gym and they know what to do. They have good form. They know how to track their macros. They know how to lose weight by themselves. That is my goal, to educate my client. But my goal is to make sure that when they break up with me, they don't just end up at square one again, that they're able to go to square 4, square 5, and keep progressing. But these are also struggles that my clients have as well. And I have to remind them, I'm like, why are we focusing so much on time? It's been 8 weeks. Do you know how little time 8 weeks is? Why do you have this idea that you're supposed to have your dream physique in 8 weeks? It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't happen. Or even when they tell me, they're like, man, I really want these chocolate chip cookies and I feel like I can't have it. I'm like, you can have it, but do you need to have it tomorrow? No. Do you need to have it the next day? Probably not. People really struggle with the all or nothing mentality when it comes to a weight loss journey. They feel like they have to be 100% dialed in, or there's no point in even trying at all. But with that burning out in a weight loss journey, once you get burnt out, you can't continuously rely on the motivation you had week 1. When you're on week 20 and you just are so tired of opening that calorie tracker app, those are the moments where I say, then maybe pull back on tracking. You can use your brain a little bit. You've been tracking for 20 weeks. I think you can just kind of gauge mentally how much that looks like on a plate. If you don't feel like tracking for a week, don't track. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, if I'm not tracking, then there's no point in being on a weight loss journey. Why am I even going to the gym? I haven't even been tracking my food. It doesn't have to be like that. It does not have to be that hard mentally on yourself, and it doesn't have to be so hard physically on yourself that you would rather just give up completely. Here's your reminder that being on a weight loss journey is a lot of mental work too. It is not just physical. It is not just showing up for the gym. It is mentally reminding yourself that you're a person. You deserve grace. You deserve however much time it's going to take. There's literally no rush. Like I said, the time is going to pass anyways. So just enjoy it for what it is. Have fun with the process. Don't make it to the point where it's a chore to show up for yourself every day. To make it a chore, it becomes unenjoyable. And you want to enjoy the process, because the more you enjoy it, the more likely you are to stick with it. The best program is the one you can stick to, not the one that you fall off from. Okay, bye.